Hopefully everybody that wanted to come in has come in and is going to come in, and if not, then they can come in later, and that's fine. And, oh, I forgot to do just a couple of things before we get started. I like to have a little bit of mood sounds in the background, kind of help me get into focus. Oh, not that. Here we go. Thank you, thank you. I hope that everybody that's here will be able to hear me from over here. I will try and talk loud. Usually not a problem for me, but sometimes. Welcome to the channel. This is not a channel that I've been in the habit of posting regularly on. However, I would like to change that, so here it is. Here we go. My name's Amada. I also go online by Alia or Spice Junkie to some, like one person. I read tarot. I've been doing it for about 2 years now, and it's been a really enjoyable and interesting journey for me. I'm here today to bring messages about the Capricorn New Moon / solar eclipse, and to talk about the kind of energies that are very prevalent and whatnot. So I will use tarot to talk about those sorts of things. So let me see here. I have notes also from my last reading that might give me some insight about what to talk about. Should have reviewed them before I started streaming. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, But I like to live fast and wing it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know if it works or not right now. Y'all can let me know. I'm sure somebody will be the lows to hold back their opinion, which is fine. Alrighty. Okay, where do I have it? Alright, I don't have any notes. That's great. Let's just get right into it. This is the first deck I instinctively grabbed when going for it. That's how I kind of do this thing. Before I draw any cards, I need to just have a moment to center myself. Feel free to join me with the breath. And I have confidence that this message is going to resonate for a lot of the people viewing this. Whenever they get a chance to do that. By the way, I'd like to mention something that came through for me while I was preparing for this reading, for this live stream. We are diviners, we are refiners, we are seekers, we are finders. That came to me tonight, while I was preparing for this reading. And it reminds me also of something that an epiphany that I had earlier this month while I was walking around trying to figure out how to solve my problems. I was thinking about seeking in general, because I was looking for something. I'm looking for solutions, and I was physically moving and looking for something as well. So I like to think about a lot how our outer reality reflects our inner reality. And that day I was feeling like I was on my way to finding what I needed to find, because it was also trying to find me. So whenever you are looking for something, what you are looking for is also looking for you. What was the phrase that I actually said? It was something like, okay, the seeker seeks, and they'll find, the seeker is also being sought. Something like that, and shall be found. Let me see what it was. It's on my page on Facebook. If you've come from Facebook, then you might be familiar with my page, ALTR. It stands for Amada Lucia Tarot Readings, or even deeper than that, it is Art, Life, Truth, and Resonance. And that is kind of like my ethos right now, is that I'm trying to live in a more integrative way, you know, with more integrity to who I am on the inside. And who I am is a kind of a weirdo and an artist, and I'm somebody who's very strong and creative. And I'm not trying to brag or anything. It's just what it is. I'm learning to integrate more action behind my ideas, because I have like a pretty powerful idea generator. But that I have a harder time with follow through. And this is where like this sort of stuff, like maintaining a page and doing readings live, comes in handy. Okay, here's the quote. The seeker seeks and is sought by other seekers. Those who seek shall find and shall also be sought and found. So that's something that I was reminded of when I was thinking and getting ready for this reading. So we're all looking for something, and something's always looking for us. And sometimes what we think that we're looking for isn't exactly what we need or what we really want. What we really want is something deeper than that. What we really want is to feel whole and complete in ourselves. And so we reach out externally for that, and we seek it. We seek out our fulfillment of ourselves externally, you know? And that's the way that it works in this world. Is a lot of times you gotta just go out there and do it. But then if you're not really clear on what it is that you really want, you're not gonna find something that's satisfying for any good amount of time. Or you're going to feel stifled and frustrated, or maybe you're not even going to, or you're going to come up with blah, blah, blah. You're going to get a lot of dead ends, obstacles, and things like that, you know. And that's kind of like the world, the external projection of your psyche's way of saying that ain't what it really is. It's not going to do for you what you think that it's going to do for you, and you have to be brave and trust the journey. Which I'm laughing about saying right now, because I actually got that from some t-shirts I was folding at work, and yeah, it's kind of weird. So I also want to talk about the Capricorn zodiac sign and its associations in tarot, because I feel like this energy is very important to this time. It's extremely relevant. Maybe not for everybody, but a lot of the people that might be tuning in right now or later at a later date, even if it's not the same time frame for you, you're going to walk through this portal and it's going to be intense. Okay, some of us that have just like are riding really high. For a lot of other people, we're way the fuck down low, and it is dark and scary, and there's like jagged rocks, and it's, you know, we can't see where we're going, and we're just being flung about by the current, or that's how it feels like, you know. But if we can center ourselves and we can get centered, that's what I just said. I'm a little redundant, but if we can like kind of focus ourselves inward, we can find our way out through that gloom. Okay? All right, and that's what it's been taking for me. I had 2 solid days of crying and feeling sorry for myself, and feeling like everything is happening to me and people are doing this to me, and I'm not being understood or loved or cared for, and I'm in danger. That's how I felt. That's how I felt for like 2 whole days, until just a few hours ago, I started feeling a lot better, you know? Some of us may be going through that. And if you're not, whoo, good for you. I'm just excited and glad for you. You know, I'm glad that you can enjoy the time. That's a good thing. And you know, I've been enjoying things too in my own way. Like, I haven't felt this fucking awful in years. It's been years. Actually, like, it's been months, and then before that, it was years. You know, I haven't felt this bad in forever. It's kind of exhilarating in a way, if you have a little bit of a deviant way of thinking, as I do. So I feel like it relates very much to this Capricorn New Moon, because we are having to clear a whole bunch of things out, letting go of so many things. So I recognize that while I'm going through my victim complexes, my feelings of helplessness and powerlessness and aloneness, that it's just stuff that is coming up, and I'm going to be, and I'm clearing it. It's clearing. It's getting out of my system. You know, my body on a cellular level was like rejecting all of that shit and saying, get it up, get it up. So it was like big emotional purge. So that's what it is for some of us. And I think it's a really good thing. Obviously, it's good to get rid of things that you don't need. Yeah. So it relates to Capricorn and tarot, in the sense that Capricorn is kind of like I was listening to somebody else talking about Capricorn, and they said it very well, that, you know, we've got the goat that has a fish tail, so it's kind of like a mergoat in a way, and which reminds me of Murgo the trader. Anyway, this goat, you know, the goat aspect climbs and overcomes things and focuses and uses all of their strength and foresight and skill to get to where they need to go, right? And to be stable. And yet, when shit gets tough, when they're deep in the darkness, they're still able to make their way, to keep moving. And Capricorn, this new moon sign is relating to the tarot, because the Capricorn sign is the sign behind, it's the astrological energy behind the Devil card. And the Devil card gets a bad rap, because it's literally got a picture of a goat-headed figure and the pentagram and everything, looking very satanical. And there are two figures beneath them who appear to be trapped, sort of. But yeah, then you notice that they're not actually trapped. They are choosing to stay under this power that seems overwhelming. So that is very much the choice that I've been faced with these past couple days, was to either remain in this restrictive, self-limiting kind of thinking and feeling, or to finally get myself going, swim away, so go to the surface and move myself away from that, and you know, I don't have to be in that. It was just really hard. Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of the Devil is also about suboptimal thought and or behavior patterns. A thought is kind of like a behavior, because it's like creating pathways and connections and in your brain, right? So it's something that is actively occurring. It's an action in a sense. I don't know. I'm kind of like wishy-washy on that. But it's like, okay, so we're having to change them. We're breaking free of the things that are holding us back, and and realizing that we don't have to be in this stressful situation and this stressful way of thinking and believing and acting in the world, when that causes a lot of pain that maybe we've started to become accustomed to and expect, and even feeling a little indulgent in, which, no shame, you know, shame is one of those feelings that we might want to feel inclined to indulge in at this time. And, you know, do whatever makes you happy. Do whatever is on your path, and just be wherever you are. But ultimately, what's going to be best is to be able to break free of that. Okay, and everybody has their time, and it's a different time. It's a different way for everybody. So don't fret too much about that. In this deck, the Devil card, I'll show you. Let me find her. In this card, the Devil is a little bit different. She's in an elaborate costume with many, many layers, and she wears a mask. She holds a rose and is looking at the rose, or so it seems. And she's wearing gloves too, so she cannot be pricked by the thorns, but she can also not really feel and fully perceive the object of beauty which is in front of her, because she is choosing to remain underneath all of those layers, which can be heavy, it can be hot and stifling, but that's just what she's choosing. Here she is. I don't know if you can see her very well. Bella Rosa. Oh, she's not looking at the rose. She's looking away from it. See, she's not even looking at it. She's choosing not to. But there is a cycle here that we've got a dragon in the infinity loop. And so it's like, that's the kind of energy that it takes to get out of there and stuff. Get in touch with your own power. You like, finally, the energy somehow inverts all of this shit that like you felt like was weighing you and like pulling you apart inside. It inverts and it flips around and you just ride it up again. And so I guess that's where I'm at right now. With that said, let's get some messages about the new moon. What is this new moon / eclipse energy telling us about our journey and our experience right now? What is the important message that we need to know about this time, about these feelings? One more shuffle, this is it, and then I'm going to just draw some cards. I don't even know how many. Okay. Alright, I don't always draw 3 cards from the bottom of the deck. This happens when I see that the cards are related to one another and have an important message, okay? Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, ouch. Let me see one more. Okay, so I didn't want to draw those cards right away, but they do have something interesting to say, so I've decided to pull them after all. Okay, I'll just stick that one out because fuck it, yeah. Makes sense to me. Ouch. Ouch. And I've drawn some more cards from the bottom of the deck. I will go through and explain each of the cards that I pulled and how they relate to this reading and the energies that are flying around, of which I was just speaking. Allow me to sip some tea. Actually, this is mulled wine. I shall progressively get slurrier in my speech and maybe a little louder or maybe a little muffler. Okay? Be aware it is strong. Oh, and it's so nice and warm. Perfect for this wintry weather. Okay. Oh wait, yeah, because these were more from the bottom. Okay, so from the bottom of the deck, the first 3 cards that I have drawn were Psyche, which is the world in the major arcana of this deck. There's a lot of beautiful rainbow colors. There's all kinds of beautiful symbolism of the grapes, which represent like fruitfulness, productivity. I think it could also be like wisdom in a sense. It reminds me of this story that I read a long time ago in elementary school about a boy who goes blind while he's stranded on an island with like some caretaker, and and after he comes back to civilization, he has a surgery which is able to restore his sight. And the glands or whatever that was damaged in the eye area or wherever they described as being like grapes or something. So that's also what it kind of reminds me of, is like vision. That's why I'm saying wisdom, knowledge, and stuff. There's things in there that could take you to another level. Grapes produce wine, which was, which can take you to a whole other level. When I have a little bit of wine, sometimes I feel like I can open up to things, to the other dimensions a little bit more. Not all the time, and it's not a thing that I practice regularly in order to open up, but it's a tool sometimes. And also I use it to have fun. Okay, there's also like the teeth of a skull in here, so there's some death energy behind this card, which makes sense because in the tarot, the world is about endings. It's the ending of the major arcana and the Fool's journey, and it's also the new beginning, okay? The number associated with it is 21. It is the 22nd card in the tarot, and it is number 21 in the Roman numeral. This reduces to 3. 3 also is kind of energy of the Empress, so it's a feminine energy. This is like we're flowing, we're integrating, we're letting things happen, and yet we are able to make clear decisions about what is occurring and about what we want to experience, because we know who we are and we know what we want. So that's also part of the energy that is involved with the world as well. I love the imagery on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It shows somebody who is kind of who's integrated all aspects of themselves and is stepping out into the world in that way. So that's fantastic. This the keyword associated with this card in the deck is ascension. So that is, yes, moving up to the next level. Yeah, rolling and reeling. Okay, the next card that I drew is the Green Man, which is the Emperor of this deck in the major arcana. The Roman numeral is 4, so it has to do with stability and strong foundation. The Emperor is very much an authoritative figure, and authoritative and authoritarian. There are grapes here that are very ripe. They are so ready. And he's also guarding a bird's nest. Birds symbolically refer to messages from the higher realms. They refer a lot of times also to the intellect but also the intuition, because they are just very naturally flying up in those higher realms. It's a natural thing. It's not something that they have to think very hard about. They just come into being able to fly eventually, They watch and they learn and they fly on their own. So we're taking care of the things that we've been creating and working on, the projects that we've been building up, these aspects of ourselves that we are integrating and are just waiting to hatch, Our shadow aspects, the creatures inside of the eggs are hidden. That's kind of like the shadow of the psyche. And so we're watching over it. We've integrated it and we've accepted it. And now we're nurturing ourselves in that way. And those birdies are going to hatch and they're going to just fly around, being beautiful, singing their songs. Wonderful. Okay. And the next card I drew from the bottom of the deck is Mat, Justice. In this deck, Justice is 8. and strength is 11. I like to talk about this aspect of these two cards because that shows that they are related. In a lot of decks, most decks, including the very popular Rider-Waite-Smith deck, it is strength that is the 8th in the major arcana, and justice, which is 11. So I think tying them together in that way, it's just important to think about, when you're looking at this, when you're looking at a justice card, also think about strength. And when you're looking at a strength card, think about justice. And the key here is with both of them is balance. Justice is about seeing the truth objectively and making your decision based off of what is right. Okay, and the reason why it involves strength is because you have to be able to control and balance yourself between how you would naturally want to react based off of where you've been and maybe your prejudices or your fears or whatever, and balancing that with what you know through what you've learned on your journey, which is that there is another way to go about things. You don't have to do things in this way that is based in fear and hurt. And instead you can move forward and go in a way that is in the direction of truth and higher ideals. You can. There's a way to do that. And the way to do that is to have strength in yourself. It takes strength to maintain that balance. And it's not like an strength. It is an inner strength. Okay? You also have to be steady. You have to be steady in the middle to be able to weigh things out. And to have that steadiness, you have to have a strong center, something heavy, It keeps you steady when you're weighing things out. Strength card is about controlling those those instincts and those baser drives, those more animalistic parts of ourselves that would rather just blow through and tear everything apart, because it seems to be a threat to us. And the reason why things seem to be a threat to us is that we are actually stronger than the things around us, and therefore they are threatened with our presence. And so in the strength card, in the Rider-Waite, it shows like a young woman, like a goddess or something of some kind. And she's just petting this lion. This ferocious beast is completely tame and is just loving all of the affection and attention that he gets from her and just soaks it in, So that's kind of how we want to treat that part of ourselves that hasn't learned yet or, and that we're trying to bring in and to integrate. We want to treat them with love and kindness and patience because, if a lion's not scared, of you, they might want to eat you if they're hungry. But then, if they recognize that they could get something from you that they want, like maybe the lion does want to be loved and nurtured and cared for, then it's going to let you pet it. And it's just going to recognize you as the one that cares. Just go make friends with lions right now. Just kidding. Don't do that. Do it from a distance. Okay. Unless you have a pet lion, then I hope that you're able to keep that lion very happy and healthy. And I don't think that people should own animals like that. But that's just me. Okay, now I'm being judgy. And I'm going off on a tangent, which is just another thing that I do. Staying focused. Yeah, so justice. Oh, and by the way, there's also a lion in this card, too, which relates, like I said, to the strength card. So yeah, we're being balanced. We're being strong in ourselves. We're moving forward. This is very Aries-y energy. It's like, it's relating to the Ram Aries is relating to like goat head Capricorn, So here's what's funny. I laughed when I was drawing the cards from the top because we've got Knight of Wands, which is that fiery, passionate energy moving forward. This is the Knight of Spirals in this deck called the Corsair. I like to call him the pirate. I also relate him to this You know, it was really reminding me of the energy of last month or earlier this month, which was like Sagittarian kind of energy, explorative and jovial because it's Jupiter, you know, and all of that stuff. This guy's learning all there is to know about life through his travels. He's far-sighted. He's got a telescope, you know. He can focus on one thing and just go for it. He's got a parrot who has the power, who is gifted with the power of speech. So like this is something that can fly in between and transmit messages that he can understand in a way that he can understand. He can see what is also interesting is this eye patch is reminding me of Odin, which is kind of like the time that we're in right now during this holiday season. It is very much a time where we used to be, where like the Nords and the Vikings and whatnot would like be the Nords. Or like the Vikings and we're honoring Odin, the god of wisdom. So that's kind of an interesting aspect of this card as well. So this next card that I drew is the Ace of Spirals, which is a goat head. I just think that's great. So this is fire energy. The spiral suit is the fire energy. It's dynamic. It's creative. It's taking action. Okay? And the aces are about the new beginnings, new creativity, new ideas, new projects, new places, people, things. Wow, it's an amazing time. It's full of all of the potential. Okay? We're coming to the end of the year, and it's also the beginning of the new year. Wow. Crazy cool, right? Okay, well then our third card is where we're having our challenges. So a lot of us are facing a lot of challenge and hardship in the material realm. 5 of Stones is the equivalent of 5 of Pentacles. This card is about grieving. It's about loss. In the 5 of Pentacles, in the Rider-Waite deck, it's Rider-Waite-Smith. It's 2 people walking together. You know, so at least they're not alone, but it's a lot colder and damp. In this card, she's all by herself, but at least, you know, she's not freezing cold, and she's got wings, you know, and she's with these healing stones. So there's always a plus side and a downside, you know. So this person in that picture is going through it. It's been difficult. It's been hard. We've been doing what we can. She's got something in her hand, and the way that I saw it at first was I thought that she was holding something that she had picked or something. It seems to be some sort of fabric, but it looked at first like maybe she had been trying to harvest something, you know, and just feeling like whatever she does, it's not happening, it's not working, nothing's going well, nothing's going right, everything's, you know, and personally, that's how I've been feeling. But we've also got all these spirals in here, which I just noticed, and that's reminding me again of the spiral suit energy, where it's like dynamic and creativity, imminent, and all of this potential. There are 2 spirals, which is like 2 of spirals, 2 being a choice, 2 being balance. So we have a decision to make. We're in a time of change. That's 5 obstacles, change, uncertainty. That's what 5 is. It's in the middle between the beginning of the suit and the ending of it. So it's really uncertain about where it's going to go. We've got all of these stones kind of facing in slightly different directions, you know. So it's a difficult time, as I said. However, there's bounty. We're stable. We are grounded. And if we're not, then it's happening for us, whether or not we're paying attention, because we've got our head down, you know. So I'm seeing the High Priestess here also. This is the Sorceress in this deck's major arcana. It's depicting a voodoo priestess. And, you know, she's working her magic. She's got the ravens from the Magician card in this deck. which has to do with synchronicity and messages from the other world. It's a dark bird too, so it's kind of like those that subconscious of our psyche that's also talking to us, the shadow aspects, our shadow self, which I was talking about earlier. Oh, there are 2 of them, 2 ravens. So it's interesting. So the high priestess is somebody who has been gifted with wisdom. She studies in the temple, her temple. She's the boss. She's balancing between light and dark in her temple. It's a lot of moon energy behind this card as well. In the other deck, it shows the different phases of the moon all over the card. And right now we are clearing out all of the other phases from the last month, from the last year, and we're going to be able to create something new with the moon and the Piscean kind of energy that is behind this card. It's very ethereal. Maybe you're having weird ass dreams, which I'm going to talk about that in the next card as well. You can follow your intuition as to what you think that it means. And if you can't get anything that's satisfying, just keep yourself open to receiving those messages that are, if you can't hear it in you, look outside and you'll find the things that are relevant to you will speak to you and show you something deeper. It might look like crumpled up socks to somebody else, but to you, it's reminding you of this other thing, and it's, whoa. I don't know, just use something as an example. Okay, High Priestess, very awesome card. That is also talking about this time that we need to go within ourselves and to be on our own. Even though we may not like it right away, it is important for us to be able to find that balance within ourselves and to be able to have more wisdom going forward. Okay. The Dreamer here in this deck is the equivalent to the Knight of Cups. So most knights are moving forward, except for usually it's the Knight of Pentacles that's staying still. This guy's kind of lounging. He's not doing anything, but his familiar is. It's a tiger there. He's friends with the tiger. It's pretty neat. I think it's also kind of like the that instinctive drive that we have to pounce on new opportunities. I have a feeling with this full moon that's coming up, this is very much relating to the kind of energy that we want to be in going towards the next full moon. That's kind of what I'm getting from here, because the next full moon will be in Cancer, and that is the opposite sign of the of Capricorn, and it's very much about our feelings. It's a cardinal sign, so it's active and kind of taking control in regards to being able to make ourselves and our feelings known and understood. Maybe a lot of times with sensitive people, we feel like nobody understands us. But when we take this time within ourselves and we get clear on who we are and what it is that we really want and what we're striving for, or then it's easier to articulate what it is that we're feeling and to have people that are right for us to understand. And when they're not right for you, they probably won't get it. And even if they are, they might not, but they're not going to hold it against you. They'll be at least open to whatever it is that you think that you're experiencing, that you say that you're experiencing, So there's some of that in there. We've got another spiral here in the form of it's a spiral. It's it looks kind of like a seashell. So we're going deep again, as I said, the spiral energy about that dynamism, that change. The full moon representing all of the feelings that are coming up, and being clear on what it is that we want and that we are looking forward to moving towards. You know, Knight of Mirrors here might be thinking about his dreams and his hopes, his wishes, fishes of wishes. Yeah. And keeping himself comfy while he's figuring it out. You know, make sure that you take some time to just like relax while you're figuring this stuff out. It doesn't have to be a big deal. I'm telling myself also, you know, when these readings resonate, it's kind of like there's an aspect, I think, that is not just for the person the viewing the reading, but also for the reader as well. It goes very much both ways. Here, the next two cards that I drew were Kali, the Destroyer, who is the tower in this deck, and the Sun, which is the Sun in this deck. Okay, so 16 in the tarot, reducing to 7, which is also the Chariot, and that's about success and triumph. Okay, but first we gotta go through all this craziness. Kali is very much this. This is kind of a sexual looking card to me. So some of us might be like having a good time exploring our sexuality. Some of us may be recovering from traumas related to sexuality, you know, because not only is the tower about destruction and tearing things down, but it's also about having the opportunity and the everything that we need to build it back up into something even better, even stronger, and more beneficial for us. Okay, so I don't really normally bring up that sort of stuff in my readings, but when it's relevant, it's relevant. And you know, I look at this card a lot, and I always see that, but it's not always relevant. And I think that right now it is. So, you know, so for some of us, this may have to do with our sexuality, our sexual nature, or your creativity. If you've been feeling like you're taking a hit creatively, like and then all of this stuff is happening and everything's falling apart all around you. Good, because because then it's bringing up a lot of fear and terror and shit that Kali is just going to eat up. She's going to eat all the flesh off of your bones and take all of that stuff off, and she's going to pop you out again, brand new and whole. Okay, she'll take care of you. She loves you. Okay, the Sun is very much kind of opposite energy. It is about happiness, joy, prosperity, the inner child. In this deck, it's a little bit different. There is sadness in this one. And it reminds me very much of one of my favorite quotes by one of my favorite authors. And it goes like this. I would not have the tears that sadness... No, I would not exchange the joys of the... Fuck! Why can't I remember this phrase? I would not exchange the sorrows of my heart for the joys of the multitude, nor would I that all the tears that sadness makes to flow from my every part turn into peals of laughter. I would that my life remain a tear and a smile. And again, that is about the balance, maintaining balance and having a sort of a reverence and a respect for all that occurs in our existence, in our experience, because it's all leading us to this next aspect that we are integrating, this next version of ourselves that we are going to embody and be absolutely amazing and fabulous in, okay? In some way or another, even if it's small on the outside to even to you, like it, you know, on the inside, it might have been a big deal. You know, so there's sadness, but there's also cause and reason for joy, and the Sun is showing you all of those things It's giving more clarity. It's allowing you to see where you've been. Okay? That brings us to also the Seven of Mirrors. I wasn't going to go with, these are the cards where I wasn't going to draw more necessarily, but then I felt like it kind of relates. Okay? So Seven of Mirrors is the equivalent to the Seven of Cups. Mirrors are the water element. They have to do with the feelings and intuition. She's weaving, believing. She's got a carafe next to her, hopefully filled with something nourishing for when she needs it. This mirror right behind her is shattered. So I see it kind of like as shattered illusions. In our Rider-Waite-Smith deck, I take Seven of Cups oftentimes to mean a state of confusion or somebody trying to play tricks and cast illusions. You know, I see it as delusion sometimes, not all the time. A lot of times it's very positive. It means like a lot of creativity or having a lot of options, which is a good thing. This card I think is closer to the feeling of illusion, the sense of illusion. What it is, it's different perspectives, it's different frames, it's different angles of the same subject. You know, all of these mirrors are arranged and framed differently, so that can all and even just the way that the kind of mirror that it is, it can change what you see and how you see it. So we don't want to, like, so while external reflections of who we are and where we are and what we're doing are helpful in some ways because they will show us what is there, right? They're not necessarily going to show how it's there. It's going to be warped. It's going to be distorted. And so the less reliance that we have on those external reflections and the more trust that we have in our internal reflections, the better. We're going to be trusting ourselves more. And here also another 7. So 7s for me are kind of like snaky. They remind me of chutes and ladders. You know, they can slide up and down into different realities like 9s, but they're a little bit, I don't know why I have this like sneaky feeling about 7s. And it might have to do with the 7 of Swords a little bit. 7 of Swords is usually like deceit, somebody plotting against you, somebody sapping your mental energy. But it can also be about stress. It can be about, it could be hope. It could be a strategy, you know, finding a way to make things work and to get what you want, which is not a bad thing necessarily. 7 of Scrolls in this deck is an interesting one because he's standing on the scroll of wisdom and knowledge. He's in between 2 doors, so it really has more of the feeling, less of 7ness and more of like 2ness. It's got more 2ness to it. See, it represents a decision that we have to make, and yet. Oh, okay. So I've never noticed that the other door actually does have like a handle on it. It's just that it's obscured. See, 7s and their obscureness. There's a door that he can get a grip on, and then there's a door that has a scroll in front of it. So there's something that he needs to know before he can go one way. And then I think that to go through this door, there's something that he needs to let go of. So he has to make a decision to either be learning something that he may or may not want to know and to walk through that door, or to let go of what he thinks he knows. And either way, it's kind of like the same choice. Because if you're learning something new, it could change your whole worldview, and you're going to have to let go of that old way of seeing and believing and thinking and moving, acting, right? Otherwise, you're going to have like dissonance in your head, and that leads to like, it basically leads to madness. I think that's another thing I associate sevens with, is kind of like madness, mania, a little. But yeah. There's a kind of hopeful, eager-looking lion in the middle here, in between the two doors. And we were talking about lions representing like strength and courage and balance between our inner drives and instincts and our higher knowledge as well. So there is an aspect of courage that's involved with whichever direction that he chooses to go. He's going to have to leave what he knows and is familiar either way. So, yeah. So it felt relevant to what we were talking about. And it leads us to Two of Cups, Two of Mirrors in this deck. We've got these beautiful swans and forget-me-nots. You know, they don't forget each other. They're like in love forever. Oh, that's beautiful. This time of year, when I think of swans, I think a lot of the ugly duckling who's not seen for who he is for the first part of his life. The first part of his life, he's being treated and mistreated and misunderstood and judged and chastised for being how he is, because he doesn't belong in that world with the ducks and the chickens and the cows, and necessarily, you know, he doesn't necessarily belong there. He's not a goose, you know, it's not his people per se. And yet it was all he knew. So a lot of us, sometimes we feel like strangers in our reality, in our world. We've come up and like been mistreated, misunderstood, and not seen for who we are, because we've been around people who have been inundated and saturated in all of these things which are false, and therefore they don't recognize something that is real and true and exactly what they're supposed to be necessarily. You know, they see themselves as being exactly what they're supposed to be, and that is true. They're exactly where they need to be at. But the first part of your life is might have been to be ostracized and to be feeling like that. Eventually that beautiful little ugly duckling finds their match, finds their people, finds the people who are of like mind. So when you're doing these things and you're learning these things about yourself and you're integrating and you're doing all this beautiful reflection, and you are able to have your own little mirror of truth inside of yourself, you can find other people who are the same way. You know, even if you guys don't always have the same views on everything, you don't like the same kind of music, you have different political views or social views, for the most part, I think as long as people are following their real heart and not falseness, more and more the illusions and the layers of deceit from the world are like peeled back, you know. So you're going to meet those people on your journey, and some of them could be lifelong friends, partners, relationships. This is also about creativity. Two of Cups, creative partnership. Twos, again, being about balance and decisions sometimes. So this could sometimes be a choice to either leave or to join up with someone or something. Okay? Okay. So, and also I like to think these are two Ace of Cups, too. So Ace of Cups or Ace of Mirrors. It's about your heart chakra, paying attention to it, getting to know what it feels like, because it's not exactly in the same spot as your physical heart. Your physical heart is here, and it pumps up the energy in your chakra when you're taking those deep breaths and you're really focusing. Okay? It does kind of charge it up, but you'll feel it here. Okay? So these are people who are led by their heart, and they find each other. All right, and you'll find those people. And I want to visit to those some of us who may be having like sexual trauma or have had it. That Two of Cups. Also, I see like as a kind of sacral card, because it is about creativity and about close relationships. So I think that not just the heart chakra, but thinking about your sacral chakra, which is like in the pelvic area, okay, doing meditation there is going to be very healing. And it's going to help, you can connect your heart and your sacral together so that the energy between them can move more fully. And it's going to help you feel more stable and safer. Of course, you want to pay attention to each of your energetic centers along your spine. But for those of us who may have sexual trauma, it's really, really important to focus on the first three and the heart chakra. The feeling of safety for the root, the feeling of closeness and not being afraid of our sexual energy in the sacral, our joy and releasing guilt and shame in the solar plexus, and opening up to heart energy, opening up our heart energy, allowing it to flow and for our healing. And it also benefits others when we do this healing for ourselves. It is so good for other people too, because then we have renewed energy to, and a different kind of perspective, with more compassion, and it reflects in our interactions with other people in little ways or in big ways, Okay, so that was important to say for some of us. Okay, and I will go now over our final cards, which we drew, which I drew one more. I couldn't help myself. And it's the Devil card came out to play. Okay. Hey. Bella Rosa, the Devil. Change, like I said, breaking negative thought patterns, having all of these unnecessary layers because we think we look cool. That's like when we put up walls or barriers and to seem aloof and mysterious. Not necessarily for that, but that's like kind of the effect that other people may see, because we're actually kind of afraid to drop our defenses and to participate fully in the world with our entire being. This mirror isn't for reflection, it's for protection. It's to bounce things off of them. Everything here is to obscure their true identity and and who they really are. But it's not going to last forever. Maybe in cycles we get to this point. It doesn't last forever. It inverts and it goes away. If we're really being diligent on our path in the Capricornian way, it gets turned around. Okay, breaking those negative patterns. And also relating to the sexual trauma stuff again as well, because it could feel like we were enslaved to somebody else's wants, or we were enslaved to our own wants if we were like going through an addiction or something. That addictions are traumatic, okay? And addiction can stem from trauma as well. So it may not have necessarily been a sexual trauma which led to the addiction, but it's still like there's trauma involved, and then it leads to something sexual in nature. Also going deeper into the Devil card and addiction, like I'm going through my own things right now. Like I mentioned about how I'm drinking some wine. I've sipped it like once, and now it's getting cold. But I had like a really bad drinking problem for a while, that I've more or less overcome. However, whenever I'm going really, really deep in the muck, this desire to just go to the liquor store at whatever time it is and spend like $2.50 on 2 tall cans of 211, like it's so much. It is so strong and powerful. I nearly succumbed, I've nearly succumbed to it several times within the past couple days. I've got IPAs in the fridge that I like to sip on every now and then, but I was like thinking about just taking all of them, just drinking. It was really hard. I've got this little tiny bottle of tequila. I've had it since the beginning of the year. I was sipping on it at a party. I brought it home and I haven't touched it. So now I have control over that addiction. There's other addictions that I have that I'm trying to control. I'm trying to control my addiction to my phone and looking at stuff on the internet without doing anything myself. I'm trying to get over my addiction to companionship when I'm feeling alone. Instead of using that as an opportunity to be creative and to get in touch with myself, I'm trying to get rid of my addiction to like coziness and comfort, because they're like that in itself could be a terrible bind. Just being happy in and feeling cozy. I feel very happy if I can just lay down in bed all day. And sometimes that is exactly what you need to do if you're feeling ill or if you're integrating a lot of stuff. It's very good to just lay down and let it happen while you're chilling in bed or on the couch or whatever. It's very nice to do that. But sometimes it gets to be like detrimental when it just becomes a habit. Okay, so devil is like also destructive habits that are suboptimal. And a habit could be a behavior or a thought pattern. We have a habitual way of thinking and acting, and they go together. And then when we're thinking a certain way, we're also feeling a certain way. But also when we're feeling a certain way, we start thinking in a certain way, which also perpetuates those feelings. And that is, again, that infinity loop that we will put ourselves in until we decide that we're done with it. Until we decide to take off the mask, discard that mirror, or turn it inwards onto ourselves. Okay? Okay. So there's a lot with that devil card. And I drew some more from the bottom of the deck. Really couldn't help myself. When Spirit's got something to say, it's got a lot to say. Okay. Here's the 9 of Scrolls, which is the equivalent of the 9 of Swords. 9 of Swords and 9 of Scrolls, basically the same meaning: grief and anxiety, oftentimes from some new knowledge that we have or an insight that is troubling, it's destabilizing. At least this person's got a nice rock. And actually the 9 of Swords person too is in bed, taking it lying down, but then they sit up. Whatever. I'm getting too literal. Anyway, so we might be very upset. Oh, I just thought, if we're paying too much attention to the news, it's going to get like this. It's important to stay informed about what's going on in the world, but be kind and gentle with yourself and your poor little heart, because it gets so fucking... Like, we don't have to be an expert on all of the disasters and heartache that is going on in the world and exactly how we're fucking up in every single way. Okay? And I say expert because this laurel here, it's like reminds me of like Nobel laureates or the bachelor's degree. It comes from baccalaureate, which is like the bay laurel. So this is like knowledge and wisdom being crowned, and then this is like being edified in stone of some kind, so it's like permanent and unchanging and it's rigid, and we're just flinging ourselves on it to no avail. We can't change that, right? And we feel helpless and powerless. What can we do? Just staying in that grief. 5 of Swords, 5 of Scrolls, with the painful truth. Okay? But there is a way to move forward. I see the deer. and the deer is looking up at those scrolls. The deer, when the artist created this carving, the spirit of that animal is in it, and it's not tied to that rock. There's other things beyond what you think that you know that look scary or painful. There's other things beyond. And I'm looking at this field and this illuminated path in the woods. You can't see necessarily a path, but like there's a light all the way in the distance through the trees. And this purple color here, that's to symbolize the spiritual realms, the other world where like fairies and such live. I'm a very big fan of fairies, by the way. They're cool. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, terrible things, misery, but there's hope and there's light, and there's a way of seeing and perceiving that is more expanded and more truthful than what we think is important to look at here. The things that are man-made, these scrolls and these swords and these rocks here, they're not necessarily the thing that we need to pay attention to. We need to pay attention to the rest of the world around us in a natural way, in the energies that are flowing around, in the way that the flowers and the trees communicate with each other and with us, trying to get our attention, trying to relieve some of that anxiety, trying to say, hey, let me in, look at me, and beautiful. I'll make you recognize the beauty in life. I'll help you realize that you're not alone if you can see beyond this. Okay? I'm feeling that one. Feeling it. Okay, and here we go with our feelings again. 8 of Mirrors, the equivalent to 8 of Cups. In the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, the figure in the card is walking away from 8 cups stacked onto each other. On the bottom, 5. In the next layer, 2. And then on top, 1. So those things, that symbolism is like 5 of Cups, regret, loss, grieving. 2 of Cups, creativity and connection. And Ace of Cups, the potential, a new beginning of the things that you're leaving behind, right? The things that you thought that you wanted. And then you're walking away from them. And then because you're seeking something deeper, something more meaningful, something more true. You need to sort things out and go inside. 8 of Mirrors is kind of the same, kind of the opposite. It's still a time to go within and to reflect, but this is showing somebody who's done that and is coming down from that mountain with the wisdom that he was requiring, with that insight, with that guidance. Okay? He's been communicating with his higher self. We have, you may not be able to see it from in there, but if you look up this card, this deck is the Chrysalis Healing Tarot. And if you look this card up online, you might be able to get a better picture of this card, the 8 of Mirrors. There's like a butterfly on top, in the background above the man's head. And butterflies are very much about transformation, of course, because they start off as little wormies, and then they make a little house, and then they sit in there for a while. They cloister themselves up and take it lying down, like I said, or hanging upside down, and then they emerge, and they're a completely different kind of being, and yet the experience that they've had has been theirs the whole time. They're just different. And yeah, they may have become somebody else, but it's still them. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what this 8 of Mirrors is doing. That's how his consciousness has been transformed. And he's got these really high ideas and thoughts in his head that he's bringing down as messages from the other world, from the higher realms. Okay? And then after 8 of Mirrors, 3 of Mirrors. 3 of Mirrors is the equivalent to the 3 of Cups. 3 of Cups is about celebration, harmony, friendship, creativity. In this deck, it's very much like the lion and the lamb laying together. That's, again, reiterating and emphasizing harmony, balance between opposing forces, you know, things that seem opposite. They're in harmony with one another. What else is happening here? I think that this lion looks very, you know, like we've been talking a lot about lions, and it's very much also protective of this lamb, this thing that may not necessarily be like them, but they recognizes as a part of all that is, and you know, wants to protect it, wants to take care of it because it sees that it is fragile and it needs that protection. And this is something that we can do for ourselves too. We can be that figure for ourselves. We can ask ourselves for that kind of support. Also, though, I don't know about how many of you guys are into channeling and things like that. A lot of people nowadays are into it. I'm not, like, I myself, I'm not necessarily actively channeling beings, although I have received messages a lot sometimes when I'm more open to it. But the energy behind the lion is similar to these beings that is called Lyran. And it's so funny that they sound phonetically similar to each other. Lion, Lyran, right? Lyran. And these are beings that when they take a form, that they usually will appear as kind of cat-like or lion-like. Okay, so I think that's interesting too. So some of us may be experiencing something like that, something new when they're opening up their gifts and abilities, because 3 is being about creativity and you know, the Trinity. So we're connecting with something in ourselves that connects us to other things as well. You know, the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, mind, spirit, body, mind, heart, body. Mind, spirit, body. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was going for. Yeah. And then the final card that I had drawn was the Queen of Mirrors, the Queen of Cups. Okay, she's so very similar to the High Priestess, I think, in like the way that she looks, probably the kind of stuff that they're into and interested in. They're both connected to the moon energy, the Watcher. So when you're practicing this inward reflection over this, you know, with all the things that are coming up during this time, it's going to bring you more wisdom, and you'll be able to watch yourself going through this stuff when it happens again, because it's going to happen again, probably. Like, you're going to be able to watch yourself, and with wisdom, with higher sight. There's like an owl there. Owls can see in the dark. So next time it gets deep and dark, you'll be fine. You'll be able to see in the dark and get what you need. Nothing can be hidden from you when you achieve this. And it is kind of like a thing that you achieve, because it's like it's something that you're able to gain through all of this work. Okay? Yeah. And that's it from that deck. I think that probably concludes my reading. One more thing that I want to bring up. I don't know if it's completely relevant. I thought that I was going to use more decks, but I'm actually pretty darn satisfied so far. I might actually, yeah, no, I did want to use another deck or two. I think I might use these two. I brought out other decks because I thought that they might be necessary. The fairies are here. They usually like to say something. Royal Dark Tarot. Okay, so this is the story about the energies behind this new moon and eclipse, okay? The eclipse is obscuring things. The new moon means that we are in the darkness, and it also means that we're clearing things out. The Capricorn has this devilish energy, which is about breaking free of restrictive patterns and beliefs. We are needing to be balanced, to go within and take our time with ourselves, being patient and gentle with ourselves, and with others, and to take our lessons forward with us so that we can find our people, so we can be creative and be our complete and full selves in every moment as much as possible. So that's what's happening with that. I don't know. I could have used this deck, but now I feel like I don't really need to. If there's anything else. Okay, so this one. Okay, so 7 of Pentacles. 7 of Pentacles came out of this deck. 7 of Pentacles, we might still be waiting for things to fully ripen and be ready to harvest. But in the meantime, we can close our eyes and just enjoy the place where we are at currently. We can enjoy the things that we do have all around us and the knowledge that we are going to be bountiful. And yeah, there's a lot of red here, which is like the root chakra. So it's that sense of stability and safety and being provided for. Yeah. Being able to rest, being able to just chillax a little bit and enjoy the moment. I think I will draw I'll draw 3 cards from here, and then I'll see what the fairies have to say, because they are wanting to pop up. Hold on, let me try that one more time. 3 shuffles. Five of Swords in the under part of the deck. Aha. Ouch. Okay. Okay, so a lot more than 3 cards came out, obviously. But this is a bigger message that basically kind of saying sort of more or less the same thing. So we've got the Knight of Wands again appearing here to, for a comeback. This figure here has got the salamanders, the elemental familiar of fire. There's flowers. There's a goddess figure with a spiral symbolizing, again, that creativity, the dynamism and change. And it's like across her womb area. So, that is where all things are birthed from, is the universal womb. Yeah. Next we have, she's like doing a spell. She's focusing her energy. We know that the Knight of Spirals had that telescope. So he's focusing his vision. This is the Fool. This is the other side of the World card, which we saw earlier. So this is, again, walking through the world as like a new person, new, completely new, and being open to everything, being open to the messages, the signs and synchronicities from all the beings and nature around us, okay? And it's not necessarily just nature. To me, nature is everything, because everything is in nature. Everything comes from nature. Even if it's man-made, we are from nature. And I think that it means that the things that we create are therefore from nature, in a sense. It doesn't necessarily mean that we know what we're doing. And it doesn't mean that we're making optimal decisions and choices. It just means that it's part of nature. Anyway, so basically being aware of the world around you, and being open to all of those signs and synchronicities and whatnot, and also having courage and faith in the direction that you're going, even if you can't see what's right in front of you, you know. Okay, and then it says 3 of Swords. So we're letting go of a lot of things, like I said, the heartbreak, the crying, the endings. Oh God. But there's hope. I flipped it over. We could close that, you know. And we've got the Hanged Man. Somebody striking a pose, stretching it out, inverting themselves intentionally. You know, they've moved their energy around so that they can have a clearer perspective on things. After this, they're going to have all this beautiful blood flow to their brain and their crown chakra and their pineal gland. And it's going to be like, they're going to be able to see with new eyes, you know? So there's also this thing growing here. There's new growth. They're reaching up. It's aspirational. So that's what happens. Letting go of the pain and switching our perspective around, inverting ourselves. 2 of Wands, that creativity, that need for balance, and being able to act on our decisions, the things that we've said that we want to do them. And this will be cause for celebration. There will be cause for celebration. That's the 3 of Cups, 3 of Chalices here. Harmony, creativity, friendship, celebration, party, party, party. Yeah, I mean, by the time the next full moon comes around, I think that we'll be feeling a lot more comfortable in the dark. You know, we'll be able to make our own light, and we may have a couple more friends along the way, which would be nice. And the cards I drew from the bottom of the deck also had an important message to say, basically reiterating the same thing. It's just like the same message. 5 of Swords, get over it. In this one, it's like people being jealous of this person who won, whether or not it was fair and square. We don't really know. Usually in 5 of Swords, it's like they definitely did it. They definitely cheated, and they definitely stepped on a lot of people to get where they're at. But in this card, it's a little bit more ambiguous. It's mental energy. I think it's like self-sabotaging, or, you know, in a way, it's our mental barriers and limitations that we put on ourselves, and then that we will project onto others and resent them for. Yeah. We'll say they're the ones that are getting in my way, instead of looking at what we're doing or not doing, you know, that's preventing us from getting what we want. Or, you know, we can also just be happy where we're at. Because, I mean, we're still up there. We still got a trophy. And it wasn't just for participation. It was for being right up there. Anyway, Knight of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles. The Knights, like I said, are usually moving towards something. The Knight of Pentacles is like staying where he's at, and he's planting all of the seeds that he needs for the next season. They're going to be delicious and nutritious. Best believe. He gets the bitches. I mean, he gets his wishes. Okay. And then the Death card, this is like transformation, loss, big, big change. Not necessarily feeling super safe. We've got a lot of red there that's like high alert, you know, extremely intense energy. And then here's another thing too that I'm noticing that sticks out to me every now and again is that these like parts of the house here, they look like fucking sevens. Um, so this 7 here caught my eye. It's change, yeah, and it might be a little bit suspect. You might not necessarily recognize it as being a good thing. But then again, 7 is also a lucky number. It's also a number of divinity, you know? And so we have to give up what we know or think we know in those sorts of situations and just move forward with hope. The Fool, the way of the Fool. And that's kind of what we were learning with the full moon, the Fool's Moon last month. That's helping us to get through this. We know now how to walk through like everything like that. We know how to do it. But it's still hard. And this is the 5 of Cups, being super sad, releasing, but then getting into this initiate kind of state of Knave of Wands, Page of Wands, who turns into the Knight of Wands. Okay, so yeah, we're being initiated, we're being hazed by the universe. It's kind of cool, it's kind of sucky, but at the end of it, we're gonna be the boss. Okay, the boss. Yeah, calling the shots, making the lists, checking them twice, 3 or 4 times, having our coffee, getting ready to go. And stability, strength, decisiveness, clear execution of your plans and your vision. So all good things, all good things. And people kind of maybe even recognizing your power and your authority too, because you're going to be a little more confident. You're going to know yourself and trust yourself better, which is, and you're going to know how fucking brave and strong you are because you just walked through this shitstorm, you know? You can do it. And that's it from there. The fairies might have something to say. They're usually pretty lighthearted and chill. They like to have something to say sometimes. I don't know. This is my fairy tarot deck. I love this deck. And it is truly alive out of like the rest of my decks. I think this one is like, it seems like it has a mind of its own, or several minds of its own. I just want to kind of invite in more of the energy of the fairies. Something lighthearted. Hopefully, maybe they have something nice to say for us. I'm going to shuffle 3 more times. All right. And boom, 10 of Acorns. 10s, endings of cycles, and a new beginning just around the corner. 10 of Wands, that's like, this is the equivalent to 10 of Wands. Oh, look, shit, there's like another 10 here. 10, that's Fortuna there, the Wheel of Fortune. Here, oh, shit. Okay, all right, I think that's good. All right. Okay, so I drew 4 cards from the bottom of the deck. They are the 10 of Acorns. Acorns are the food that the fairies are going to be using for nourishment, for energy, to get them through the winter. Okay, because it's very cold, very frigid, but the nuts have a lot of energy in them because they are mostly fat. They have very high fat content and oils and stuff. So that means that they can be burned for fuel. They can be used. They can be eaten. The shells and stuff can be used as tools. Very useful. And it's a creative energy too. Okay, 10. The Wheel of Fortune is about the cycles that we move through. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. Okay, and you know, she's not really necessarily paying attention to who's on, like, which part of the wheel is up or down. She's just going. She's just going. She likes riding around on that big ass wheel and crushing us sometimes. I think I mentioned that in my last reading as well, where we were kind of like being dug into the dirt, ground into it a little bit. And like, now I've noticed a lot of my friends are way up here in their energy and their experience. Right now, I'm fucking not, or I haven't been, been down, been way down, getting ground into the dirt. Okay. 8 of Acorns is moving through and away from a difficult situation and towards something better. This one is a little bit more like 8 of Cups almost, or 8 of Swords even. Because of the energy moving. 8 of Wands is a little different. It represents fast changes. You know what, though? Could also be quick, but it's definitely drastic, whatever it is. It's a big change, okay? And then Ace of Leaves, new ideas, new mental paradigms, new perspectives, new abilities. Oh, yeah, when you're doing all of this work in your subconscious and dealing with those fears and those negativities, and you're integrating those aspects of yourself, you open up more of your cognitive ability and capability. You could see things more clearly. You could see through to the truth a lot more clearly. And it's like, yeah, the more that you clear out bullshit, which has its purpose for one moment, and then we move on, right? Okay, moving on. Uh-huh. 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 Okay. Wow. Okie dokie. I'm going to, all right. I'll bring these 3 out because I see a repeat, okay? So after drawing the 3rd card, I wanted to draw some more. Okay, here we have the Queen of Bells. That's the Earth energy, Queen of Pentacles. So she's super nice. She's so nice. She would give you snacks, and she would she would definitely give you some snacks. She would give you a hug if you needed one. She'd get you to work if you were bored, probably too, because she's an Earth sign, so she's very much like, so she'll get you on your way, okay? Being in that kind of Queen of Pentacles mode, you want to be nurturing yourself, taking care of yourself, and also taking care of business. Your business, because it is to benefit you, okay? And then we've got the Page of Cups, which is that youthful, fun, light-hearted energy. This is Page of Hearts here, Knave of Hearts. So we're being initiated. We're introducing ourselves to ourselves in a sense, okay? In innocence. And the Tower showed up yet again. So like I said, this one is also a little bit about hubris too. So maybe you thought that maybe some of us were thinking we could get away with something, and it didn't happen that way. It was kind of irresponsible to believe that. Maybe we thought that we were immune to certain consequences, but we're not, and then that was being shattered. That idea is gone, okay? 7 of Cups, like here's that sneaky 7 energy in this card, because this figure here is watching another figure that is on the other side of the grass. You cannot maybe see it very well over there. But she's just minding her own business, and he's sitting on a frog, of all things, something which emerges from the liminal phases between land and water, between what is material and what is intuitive and emotional, right? So he's not making a full decision yet either about taking action or anything. So we have to decide if we're going to just stay in the shadows, or if we're going to go and after what it is that we want or think that we want. And either way, it's going to show us where we need more clarity. If we go towards what we think that we want and it doesn't pan out the way we thought it would or hoped it would, or we don't feel like we thought, then it must have been, then there needs to be more seeking inside. Here's the Death card. Again, transformation, going over to that next level, to the next cycle of the moon. Here we have moon being phased. Okay, we've got a snake energy there, which is like earthy, and it's in the water, so it's sliding into the deep, dark feelings. And snakes will shed their skin when they grow. They just slough it all off and they carry on as usual, you know? So, but a little bit more snaky than they were last time. Okay, and here we have the Knight of Hearts, which is moving forward, but slowly taking his time, going at a pace that, you know, works and keeps him feeling steady, safe, and secure, and following his heart. Yeah. And it ends again with the Queen of Hearts. Like I said, the hearts are like the water energy. And so we had the Queen of Mirrors earlier. I'm sure if I used one of my other decks, we would have gotten the Queen of Cups. But here she is right here, the Queen of Hearts. Okay. She also has snacks. And she has a lot more hugs. And she also, this is like the kind of energy that we want for ourselves too, is while we're getting ourselves into doing what we need to do for ourselves, action-wise and material-wise, also making sure that we are nurturing ourselves emotionally, you know, not just making sure that we're comfortable and that we've got everything that we need physically. We need to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves emotionally. Okay? All right. And that is the message. Unless the fairies have one more card. Oh, yeah. Well, I did. Okay, well. They also said Seven of Swords. That weird 7 energy again. He's making fun of that bird. Like, remember when I was telling you that some people might not understand you and might mistreat you because they don't get it? That's kind of like what this is doing, and it could steal your energy and stuff, but, like, you don't necessarily have to believe that or go along with it. Maybe it might amuse some people, but, you know, when we start to, like, take these outside perspectives for ourselves, then we might be that person that is amused by the situation here because, like, no matter what he says or does, he's not going to stop the bird from being a bird. And it's just really amusing to think that one could, right? So our external perspective might be one that we get amusement from because we see that this person's trying to play games that we're not falling for because we can fly. We don't have to fall. Okay? And the Hanged Man, or the King of Swords came out. So that's, again, the clear decision making. He is the highest authority of the Leaves suit, King of Leaves, you know? He's got a higher perspective, literally, because he's sitting in a swing. So he's elevated, okay? And, you know, he's keen, he's coy, but he's also pretty jovial. You don't have to be super serious with all that you know, or like super stern. He draws a line when necessary, okay? But, you know, you could be chill with it. And then there's the Hanged Man again, talking about that suspension. Sometimes we're suspending disbelief or any kind of belief. We're suspending ourselves. We have to tell ourselves just fucking stop, put ourselves in timeout, and reflect. Okay? And thank you for joining me today. I'm glad to have been here with you. Let me know if the reading resonated for you in any way, shape, or form. If it didn't, if you think I suck, go ahead and let me know. I would love to hear it. You know, I think it'll help me fuel myself if you just abuse me. I'm kidding. Don't abuse me. Well, whatever, do what you want. I'm not your boss. Yeah, take care of yourselves. I'm sending everybody lots of loves and whatnot. Good vibes, good times. The vibes are there. Pick them up. And that's our show for the day. I'm going to cut off the transmission. It's going to take a minute. Okay. Thank you.